What we did last time was to create a function called greet. What I'm going to do is take that same code, that function that we developed last time, and I'm going to now put it in a file so that I, as well as my friends and my colleagues and the whole internet, can use my wonderful function. And the whole idea here is that I want to put it in a file so that I can share it with other people and I can share it across all of my code. So how do I do this? It's very simple. I say File, New, Text File. That's one way I can do it. Or I can go back into my launcher, scroll down there, and you'll see that I'll have text file as one of my options. So let me do it this way for now. So I'm saying that. What I'm going to do here is, since it's a Python file, I'm going to actually rename it. And so I right click on this and I say rename, and let's call this friendly.py. That's the key thing. You want to end it with py so that you can tell JupyterLab that this is actually a Python file. When you do that, you'll see that little icon there will change. This is where you're going to be typing in your code. So let's write our function again. So it's always good practice to put some comments in the beginning, just saying what this file is. A module that I am going to use as an example. Okay. All right. What is a module? Basically, a module in Python, the simplest way to think about it is it's a file that contains Python code. All right. So think of a module as a file that has Python code that you can then use elsewhere in your program or in other modules. So let's put some code in here, and I'm going to have my good old friend greet here. And it's going to say something to somebody. So it's going to say what? It's going to be say maybe hello there. And to whom is my second parameter. And that could be, by default, it has mystery person. Okay. Now, put a colon, and I start writing my function. I always have a dot string. So I'm going to put that right here. A convenience function that returns a friendly string. Okay, my parameters might be what, which is a string, and it's greeting to issue. And what is the next thing I want to say? To, which is also a string, and the person to greet, and let's say returns a string that greets the person. Okay, the body of the function, well, we know it's just something very simple. It's just return. And we're going to use an F string or formatted string, and it's going to say whatever you asked it to say to the person that you asked it to say. I'm going to say that, boom, enter, and I save the file. All right, so I save, I'm done. I can close this file now, or actually let me keep it open. All right, let me now switch here. So now that I have my code in a module, I can now use that code elsewhere. How do I do that? The way I access that code is I say import. So that's a keyword, as you can see. It's turned to green. And I say import friendly. And then I hit Shift Enter. And now friendly, all the code within friendly is now accessible to me. Everything that's in that file, friendly.py, is accessible to me. Now, how did it know that it's in friendly.py? Because I didn't say friendly.py, I just said import friendly. Well, this is how Python works. If you say import something, it looks through a whole bunch of places where it thinks a file called thatthing.py might be. And one of the places that it knows where to look is, of course, the current folder. When you say import friendly, it pulls it in. Now you have access to all the code within friendly. How do I know that? Well, I'm just going to try calling it. And the way I call it, because remember, inside friendly.py is my greet function. So I should be able to call my greet function. And there you go. I'm going to say greet. And of course, this was written maybe a while ago, so I've forgotten exactly what is in there, but that's not a problem because I had a docstring. So I can say shift tab, and it tells me exactly what it expects. So it expects a what and a, who do you want to say it to? So let's say, hey there. And the to would be, I'm going to say Johnny. Johnny. All right, cool. Hey there, Johnny worked just great. Everything is fine. I just don't like one thing about this, and that is there's a lot of typing going on. If I say import friendly and then I say friendly.greet, that's kind of a pain. So what I want to do is I just want to give it a shorter name because I'm a lazy typist. So I'm going to say let's import friendly, and I don't want to call it friendly dot this thing all the time. I want to just import it as, let's say, F. Okay, so I say shift enter, and you can see that I've executed that. Now I should be able to say f.greet instead of friendly.greet. And let me just change that so that it's pretty clear that I've got a new invocation of this, and let me say Elvis. Okay, and I'm going to hit shift enter, and it says hi Elvis. Great. Everything is looking really good. Now I'm going to go in and start making changes to friendly.py. And we're going to see that actually we're going to hit a problem. But let's hit that problem. Let's go in there, and I'm going to say that I'm going to change this function a little bit so that it's going to say that, and I don't like that exclamation mark. I think exclamations are being overused. So I'm going to do this. All right. And I'm going to save that. So I've saved it. I go back in here, and now I say f.greet. Let's say, hey, Santa. Okay. And what do I expect? And look at that. It says, hey, Santa. That's correct. But my exclamation mark is still there. What is going on? Well, here's what's going on. This is a consequence of an optimization that is going on in Python that is getting in your way right now. So the optimization is very simple. The optimization says when you try and import a file, it is not going to re-import that file. Even if I go in and execute the statement again, so now import friendly as F, and then I say, hi Elvis, hey Santa, no matter what I do, however many times I execute import friendly as F, it's still going to print that exclamation mark. Why? Because that was the code it imported when you first did import friendly as F. And now when you say import friendly as F again, it's going to say, oh, friendly, know all about that. I'm not going to import it again. And that's an optimization that makes a lot of sense because very often you're going to import the same library in hundreds of files, and you definitely don't want Python going and reading that file over and over again 100 times. In this case, however, when you're doing development, it turns out this is a real pain because what can you do? Well, you could do the following, and this is a useful thing to be able to do sometimes. You could just shut the whole thing down. So you could basically go in there and say, hey, I'm going to start a whole new Python kernel, and I'm going to clear everything. So you can restart the kernel, or you can restart the kernel and clear all the outputs of all of the cells. So I'm just going to say restart kernel and clear all outputs. I say restart. Okay. And poof, all that is gone. Now I can import this again, import friendly as F. And now if I say f.greet, you'll see I'm getting the dots. Okay, so that's one way of doing it, which is just shut down the kernel. The kernel is the Python interpreter that you're interacting with through this interface. And so one thing you can do is to just go in there and restart the kernel and make your changes. So now if I want to go back to this old way, right, like this, I save the file, I go in here, I say import friendly as F, and I do this, it is not going to work. Now I'm stuck with this version. And so if I want that to happen, if I want to get that recent version, I'm going to again have to say restart the kernel, clear all outputs, restart, and then I go in and execute this again, and execute this again, and execute this again, and everything works as I expect. But this is very, very cumbersome. And especially if you're running a lot of code, you don't want to have to do this every time. Fortunately, there is a way around this. And for me to show you that, I'm going to have to introduce one more cool thing, and that is something called a magic command, or magic at the Jupyter Lab prompt. It literally is called magic, and here's how it works. Magic is basically a command that you're giving that's not a Python command. It's not Python code. It is a command that you're giving to this interface. You're telling this interface, you're telling the user interface that you're working with right now, saying, hey, this is for you and I need you to do something for me. And one of the things you can do through these magic commands is to load extensions that do custom stuff. And there is one extension that we're going to use. So the first thing you're going to have to do is load it. The way you load it is by using a %loadExt. Okay. Now, what are we doing here? So let's be clear. Percent means what I'm going to do now is give you a magic command. LoadExt is the magic command. And what are you going to tell LoadExt to do? You're going to tell it to load an extension called auto reload. Okay? So auto reload is an extension, and once I hit Shift Enter, I have auto reload functionality available to me. The auto reload extension offers a new magic command. That new magic command is very helpfully called auto reload. So now I can say auto reload. Okay, well, what do I do with auto reload? There are different ways in which you can auto reload, and there are different modes in which you operate. The most gross mode, where it just auto reloads everything, is mode 2. Okay, so when you say auto reload 2, it is just going to auto reload every module anytime it sees a change. So let's do that, auto reload, and let's just go change this function for the fun of it, and let's say changed. Okay, save it, and now let's say f.greet. Look at that, changed. Wow. So now let's go in and say, for example, new version. Save it. If you don't save it, you won't be able to see it. Go in there, try that again. New version. All right. So what did we learn here? Modules are nothing more than files that contain Python code. You put your code in there. Once you've got your code in there, and save it and put it in the search path, and your current folder is always in the search path, you can use that in your code by using the import statement. You can either say import and then just give the name of the file without the py extension, or you can give it an alias, and that alias is what you can use if you have one. If you don't have an alias, you're going to have to use that, and then you can access all the contents of that file through the module name or its alias, a dot, and then whatever piece of it you're trying to reach. So in this example, we're trying to reach a function within that file, so it's called greet, so we're going to call this f.greet. We also learned that there's something called magic commands. Magic commands are the ones with a percentage. They're not really Python. They're things that you are telling your user interface, the Python user interface that you're using here, that, hey, this is for you. I want you to do something for me. And the first magic command that we saw is something called LoadExt. LoadExt loaded an extension called auto reload, which gave you a new magic command called auto reload. And we used auto reload in mode 2. And that allowed us to automatically reload modules as soon as the file gets saved, so that we don't have to keep killing off kernels and starting new kernels every time we make a change to that file. Okay, so next we're going to go back to the Python language. We're going to learn a few more useful little things, and then we'll jump into using other modules that other people have written that add power to Python, and then we can start using their modules. Before we do that, we need to learn a little bit more about the language so that we can really use those other modules in an efficient and powerful manner. I will see you next time. Thank you.